Before you start a bare bottom reef, make sure to finish this video. Also, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you after the intro. I recently set up a bare bottom tank during summer of 2021, and it turned out to be a massive success for me. But unfortunately, the tank is no more because one of the caretakers for it made a mistake, and mistakes do happen, it's a part of life. So all this footage is all footage from last year. But that tank taught me some valuable things about reef keeping, and I want to share one lesson I learned. I've been recommended to start a bare bottom reef tank by my LFS, and I thought it would be perfect to try it in a small 13.5 gallon first. Let me tell you something, I'll do everything I can to not use sand anymore in the future. Obviously, if I want specialized fish or inverts that need sand, I will have tanks designed for them. But regarding community reef tanks, I think bare bottom will become a new standard for me for future tank builds. I love sand, I really do, but making the tank bare bottom makes life so much easier. Pair a bare bottom reef with a protein skimmer or a filter sock, and it's good game. You will probably end up dosing nutrients. I didn't use a protein skimmer, but maintenance was so easy, and all I had to do was suck up the debris out of the dead spots because it all ended up collecting there. I low-key kinda prefer the look of bare bottom tanks, but that might just be me. But yeah, using the bare bottom approach was just a much more enjoyable experience in my opinion. There is one important caveat. When you start a bare bottom tank, it's a really good idea to start it with live rock. I actually got this tip from BRS where they said if you start with dry rock, you're starting from scratch, and that you'll have an ugly phase that'll last for a year, or maybe even 2 if I remember correctly. The reason for this is because when you're first starting out with the bare bottom tank, it is much less stable than when you start with a reef tank with sand. This makes bare bottom tanks much more prone to bacterial and algal blooms because the microfaunal population that needs to be established just doesn't establish as fast compared to when you have sand. And that just makes sense because when you add sand, it has much more surface area to facilitate microfauna growth. So if you start with dry rock in a bare bottom tank, think of it as an investment where you have to go through a longer ugly phase, but it will pay off with easier maintenance once you're out of it. But a good way to speed up the ugly phase is to use live rock. Live rock is already established and has all the microfaunal population to keep a stable tank. Now, I'm not going to say that you won't have an ugly phase at all, but for me, it didn't really last that long. Probably 1 to 2 months, and then the tank looked pretty established after that. I even had coralline growing in the tank relatively quickly, and that's a good sign of stability. Obviously, if you start a reef with sand and live rock, you'll probably get the same results, but the point of this video is for people considering bare bottom tanks that there is a larger difference on getting out of the ugly phase when you use live rock than dry rock. So, to end, if you want to have an easy established bare bottom tank relatively quickly, make sure to start with live rock because it will save you a lot of headache and you can spend less time stressing and more time enjoying your simpler bare bottom tank. If you do end up using dry rock still, just make sure to know that you'll have a rockier start comparing to starting a tank with dry rock and sand. With that said, I'll see you in a bit.